Yeah, g'day guys, welcome to the channel. The wife's bought a Suzuki Grand Vitara, 2009 model. Anyway, it's got a cooling problem and we need to make it cool and not blow up. So let's get into it. Here we go. It's got a cooling issue. We don't know if it's if the head's cracked or the head gasket, or anyway, we don't know. So let's start tearing into it and see what happens. Hopefully it's not too big a problem. Anyway, let's get into it. So this is the little 2.4 litre motor, engine, motor, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a motor. It's got individual coil packs, injected, you know, quite a nice little package. Sort of factory sort of header style exhaust down through a cat, power steering, all the fancy stuff, air conditioning. But yeah, water's starting to go into the oil, so I'm going to not record everything, but I'll let you know as things go and go from there. We'll start getting this head off and work our way through it. So let's get into it. Okay, couple of weeks later. I didn't record a lot, mainly because of the amount of disappointment that I was going through mentally. I've taken the head off, and it wasn't the head gasket. Head gasket was okay, mainly because the head was not flat. You put a steel ruler across it, and it was a bit not flat. So anyway, a new head gasket wouldn't have fixed the problem. So I've got the head reconditioned, and I didn't record any of that. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, so I'll put the head on, and it kind of doesn't look a lot different, and it runs really good, or appears to, but we've still got a cooling problem. I think there's something else, because there's now oil in the radiator, which there wasn't before, and there's oil in the sump, which there wasn't before. But in saying that, there was Chemi-World and all sorts of this. Someone put silicon everywhere when I was pulling the motor, well, the top end of the motor apart. So that's not a real good thing. I think there's much more going on. So I'm going to take off the intake manifold, and I'm going to take off the exhaust manifold and have a bit of a look-see. And because I've looked on a few forums, like Suzuki forums, and they're all saying the block is a high probability of the block is cracked. So this thing must have got really hot to not only damage the head, but to destroy the block as well. So the motor is a J24B. I didn't know they existed. Anyway, it's called a J24B, and so I've just done a bit of research, and I've been trying to find another motor. There's none aftermarket at the moment, and I've tried about 7-8 different wreckers around Brisbane here in southeast Queensland. None of them have another motor, so I don't really know what to do. I do have an idea though on maybe a different car with the same motor maybe. Anyway, you know how like Holden, like in Australia, Holdens have LS in a few different models. Ford were doing the same. Mazda do the same. They put the same motor in different model cars. So I'll see what else is out there, and we'll go from there. But I'll start taking the manifolds off and see if I can see if there is a crack or anything. Anyway, so this might be a quicker video than we expected. Anyway, leave it with me, and I'll start taking some bits off. Here we go. close look to this side. There's the intake manifold side. A little bit oily, but I wouldn't say there's... I can't see any real cracks. Nothing where the forums sort of say. You can see the heads looks all nice and shiny. Anyway, let's take the other side off and see how it looks. I've got a suspicion it's all over there. Oh, you're joking. Unbelievable. Why would somebody do that? Dodgy arseholes. Anyway, looks like we're pulling the motor. So, yeah, she's it's toast. And, okay, I'll do some hunting for another block, another motor. Yeah, so it cost me $550 for the head to get reconditioned, and they've done a really nice job. That was Southside Cylinder head reconditioning place. I'll just put their website up on the screen there, and they were really good. And I got all the gaskets and everything through Rock Auto. Sent away from there. They must have Suzuki Vitaras in the US. So that's probably about $1,000, just a bit over $1,000, and now the engine block needs replacing. I don't know why I didn't see it when I did the head, because you wouldn't have thought, you know, who'd have thought the block would have been gone. Anyway, let's see what I can find in the way of a motor. Like, I couldn't find one before, so I just got to try harder. That's what it is, trying harder. Anyway, leave it with me and I'll see what I can find. There's a bit better look. It looks like it's scratched, but that's definitely where it's all weeping, or maybe even under here. That's the worst of it. The silly part is someone's gone and put all that silicon sealant there to hope and pray. Well, there's probably no praying. It just didn't work. So yeah, that's a bit of a mess, and now we have to go and find another solution for sure. Like, that's not repairable. I've inquired and they said, yeah, no, we can't weld that up. What about where the water goes? Yeah, good point. Let's see if we can find another motor, hey, and slot it in there. Leave it with me. It'll probably be a couple of days. Okay, I found this Suzuki. It's called a Kizashi. Man, they make a hard name. Why couldn't they just go like, you know, Falcon or something easy? No, we're going to make a really strange Japanese name. Kikurashi. Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is, it's got the same motor, the J24B. And so I'll roll it in here and quickly whip it out. I'll quickly remove the motor, and then we can start on swapping bits over, because this Kikurashi is it's a front-wheel drive unit, and the Grand Vitaras are a four-wheel drive unit. So the motor is configured in the engine bay differently, so the sump will be different, the pulleys will probably be different, but the block itself and the head and everything like that will be the same. So there'll be a few things I'll have to change. So we'll get around to all that and go from there. Ow! Oh. This car's gonna kill me. Is that split a nail? Oh, pain. Okay, a couple of weeks later, I've got a couple of motors right here. Let me show you the differences in these configuration, like front wheel drive to a four wheel drive unit. Hang on, let's have a quick look. The main difference is, this is the one that I just took out of the Grand Vitara. Yeah, that's not good. And this one, oh, just nice oil. So that's the biggest difference. Seriously, it's got a little difference with the port. That's a hose, and the other one has a pipe that goes into it. So I've got to swap them over. That's probably the worst at the back of the motor. The pulley configuration is a little bit different because there's a pump. See on this one that's got a power steering pump there. So I just got to swap them over. They're two brand new idler pulleys, so I've got to swap them over to here. Oh, and that one actually is the groove version. That's a flat version, so I've got to swap a few around, make it all sort of work. The cranks, actually that's a little bit different. The timing cover, the case, see that there? Where the timing mark is. This one here still has a timing mark, but it's got these other things here. Maybe that's for the hydraulic adjuster, for the timing chain. Anyway, that doesn't matter. And the sump is definitely different, where that's got a big hump in it, like that, and goes up over the front diff. And this one is just one big solid sump, but it's on a slant. You can't really see it because it's under a tyre. But besides that, I think they're pretty much just bolt in, other than just those couple of things. Oh, this one's got the studs here where it has the engine mounted, and that one just has a couple of holes. So anyway, I will swap those few things over and proceed to put this one in the Grand Vitara. I'll just quickly swap them over and jam it in. Let's get into that. Oh, yuck. Chocolate. Compared to a nice brown oil coming out of the good motor. Yuck. Pick which one's the worst, which is the old motor. It's pretty gungy in there. Yeah, she's crapped it. Now I've got to try and get all that gunge out of there. Like, it's easy just getting the oil out, but man, that's going to be a premium effort. And the other thing is the pickup. So there's the pickup tube right there. This one only has a little short thing. Anyway, so the pickups are different. I've got to change them. That shouldn't be too hard. Hopefully it's only a couple of bolts. And I'll swap them over. I'll clean them up. I'll swap them over. And yeah, I've got to clean the thing up, because that's the one that goes on this motor. Anyway, let's get into that. That looks like a task. That looks a bit better, doesn't it? All cleaned out, spotless. Well, virtually. 99% of the crud's gone anyway. So I've smeared a bit of stuff on, bit of gasket maker, and I've cleaned everything else under there. The pickup's all bolted in. It's got 3 bolts in there. A couple of new O-rings up here just to make sure that we're not going to have any issues. I think we're sort of ready. I've wiped it all down under there. She's ready to go. Okay, let's chuck a couple of bolts in, and she's nearly ready to throw in the car. I've degreased all the engine bay and everything. There's a support leg just holding that transmission up, so I'll have to put the jack under there again. So I'll probably do that in the morning. But anyway, I'll get this bolted on, and we'll go from there. Okay, better set the torque setting for the sump bolts. 18 foot-pound for M10. Maybe you can read that. You know how things don't always go to plan. I'm ready to put this motor in. Got the block of wood out of the way, got the jack underneath, ready to go. And then I reached down to just check that, and that happened. That's not meant to come off there. That's the engine mount. And it's meant to be connected to this. This one's all good, I just checked that one. So now I've got to go and find an engine mount on a Saturday. Let's see if the local Repco or Super Cheap we got one. Anyway, I'll unbolt it just so I know what I'm showing them. Anyway, one more delay. Yeah, that looks like the right one. $250 later, we have an engine mount. Anyway, chuck it in. So there's the brand new engine mount right there. It was painful. Anyway, I'll put the wheel back on and then we might be able to get this motor in before the end of the day. Anyway, let's get into that. Now I've just got to hook it up and make it work. Easy. Okay, the first thing you've got to do with an auto anyway is line up your bolts on your torque converter. If I move that you won't see. The torque converter is through there. See that in there? There, see I can turn the torque converter. So now there's 6 bolts holding this thing with a gear on, the ring gear is called a flex plate. And the torque converter is connected to the gearbox, or in the front of the gearbox. So I just got to line that back up and put a bolt in there with Loctite, and then turn the crank and do another one, and then do another one until you get all 6 done, and then you start torquing them up. I can't remember what the torque setting is, but I'll look in the book, and then we can say that's done, and then put the starter motor back in place. I'll just get through that and we're ready for something else exciting. Okay, update. I've got the alternator on, got the starter motor on, the torque converter bolts are all done, and I'll put a bit of Loctite on them all. I've got the wiring harness for this part of the motor hooked up, like the knock sensor, there's another one under there. The alternator, the starter motor wiring's all connected. The air conditioner pump is on, and I had to change the oil relocate. Would you believe there was an oil? Who would have thought? Hang on. Yeah, it had this oil relocate. So that was bolted to the block, and it had a little stub in there, which I had to get out because this is what it looks like in the block, in the old block. So this was over the top, bolted sort of like that. I don't know why, maybe just to change the angle a bit, easier to get when it was in the front wheel drive version. But I had to get that out of this. And to do that I thought, oh shit, I'm never going to have 2 nuts to do a double nut to try and undo it. But luckily enough, it's the thread is 3/4 UNF, which was something I had to castle nuts. So I just popped this one on the lathe and took the top half off, so it could screw down over the top of the duty what, and then I just put this one on, half of it on there, and 2 shifters later, whammo, come out, piece of cake. So I screwed it into the block, and I've put the footer on now, but I put a little drop or 2 of Loctite on the thread, and it was just a little short little piece of threaded tube, I suppose you could say. Anyway, so that's done. All the gearbox mounting bolts were tightened right up, nice and tidy. All the engine mounts are all done. Bloody engine mount won't go there. So I'm kind of ready to put the intake manifold on, the exhaust manifold on, and probably put it up on the hoist so I can hook up the bottom of the exhaust, and then start plugging all that wiring back in, like, because there's a lot to plug in, injectors and coils and all sorts of other bit. And this is the end that's got the computer plug in it. I made sure it wasn't going to get wet when I hosed it down. Same over here, I covered the end of the computer, the ECU, sorry. So once I do those couple of things, hook up a few radiator pipe. There's a pipe that goes all the way from over here with an O-ring in it, steel pipe, and it comes all around, goes at the top of the exhaust manifold, comes out over, goes into here. Well, it has a radiator cap here, so it goes there. So that and a few other things, and then we're, yeah, sounds easy. Anyway, oh, I've got to hook up the heater hoses too. Anyway, got to have a heater inside. Anyway, let's get into that, and we should be running. Well, I think we're just about got everything. I've just put the oil and the water in. Oh, I've got to do power steering. But before I do that, I will pop it up on the hoist and just do the last couple of bolts of the exhaust. And I think there's 2 under there for the bell housing. Maybe. Oh yeah, the little tiny cover thing that's meant to cover your flywheel thing. Anyway, I'll do those. And then we should be right to start it up once I chuck a battery in. Oh, the boss is going to be so happy. Yeah, she's going to be ecstatic that it's going to be going today. I told her it wasn't. But anyway, let's get into it. Here we go. Yeah, so a bit of an update on the channel. I haven't sort of forgotten all the projects that I've been doing. Well, I'm halfway through. The main one being the Brumby, the TJ Brumby project. I'm really trying to get back into it, but this Suzuki has sort of taken a little bit of time, you know, a couple of months to try and get motors swapped and bits and pieces. You're waiting for engine reconditioner. Anyway, that's all behind us. And something else I just did is a bit of a brake upgrade with a rattle can on the Suzuki, so that should make it go so much faster. A couple of kilowatts. Anyway, the other projects besides the Brumby is a shipping container storage extension of the shed here, so it'll give me a bit more space. I'll be able to have more workable space, so that's coming, and the containers are turning up sort of as this video comes out. It's ongoing. And the other one is a camper van, Mitsubishi Express camper van that I've done. It took me 4 or 5 months, and I've filmed all of it, and I've just got to put it all together. So look out for that video. That's coming soon, and we'll be getting back to the normal ones like the Brumby and go-karts and stuff like that. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Here we go. Yeah, so that's everything. The battery's all on. No sparky sparks, which is good. Now I've gone and disconnected all the coil leads and the injector leads, so it won't actually fire. and I'll just turn it over to make sure that we've got all pressure, and then if we've got all pressure, the light goes out and everything, I will hook them all back on, and fingers crossed. So I spun it over without everything plugged in, and the light went out, but the engine light came on because it thinks that nothing's connected. So I'll plug it all back in. Now I'll see if it's, make sure it's all good. So the engine light went out, which was really good, and running nice and smooth. There will be a little bit of smoke come off the exhaust because they're all handled and there's grease and oil and stuff on them. Just got to wait for this to burp up a bit, and we should be hopefully right to go for a little test drive. I'll just get it to temperature first. Just leave it with us for a couple of minutes. So I think we got it burped. That makes sense. We got all the air bubbles out of the system. There's a bleed screw, would you believe, in the top of the water pump. It took us a couple of minutes till we worked it out. Gary came and gave me a bit of a hand, and we think we got it right. So we got the radiator cap on, and it's been running. We've got a OBD2 reader temp gauge to make sure that we're getting a correct reading, and it's hanging around about 100 degrees Celsius, and then it comes back down to 92, and then up. So up and down, and then the thermofan's cut in and out. So we think it's doing all right. So now I'm going to go for a little test drive before I let the boss have a drive. Well, it's the next morning, and all the tools and shit are all still everywhere, but the car's out because it's outside here. It's a bit wet, so we're going for a bit of a test drive a little bit later this morning. And like, I've driven up and down the road, it seems to be just fine. If out of all of this, what we need to do is be mindful that don't trust what the gauge says. Go with your gut, because when the steam's coming out the bonnet, yeah, that's a bad thing. And now the boss is just going to go for a drive, and I think the boss is going to be happy with it. Yeah. All that power. We think the original problem, like how the original problem come about, was that there's an O-ring in a housing that connects to the radiator hose, and we believe that that had blown out, split, whatever you want to call it, and it leaked out all the water. And because the temperature gauge on the dash wasn't working correctly, so because of that O-ring that had split and leaked out of that housing, and the temperature gauge wasn't working, then all the water's going to go out of it. And when the water goes out, there's nothing to cool the motor. So the previous owner, it would have cooked pretty easy. Not only did it sort of blow a head gasket, bent the head and cracked the block. So the lesson being, don't trust the gauge, because the gauge wasn't working on the dash. When you see steam coming out of the bottom, that's a pretty good sign. Yeah, pretty good sign that, yeah, things aren't right. Don't keep driving. The temperature gauge wasn't telling you anything. So anyway, that's sort of how we think it happened originally. And I'm glad that we realised that the gauge wasn't working, and I'll put an aftermarket one in there, connected to an OBD2 port, and it works pretty good so far. So just do that and you won't miss a thing. We'll see you on the next one. The TJ Brumby, which I haven't forgotten about, it's just there.